What's up, Queens? Good to be here again.
Back in the goalies.
Ready to play.
Yeah. What? What did you listen to?
Oh, yeah.
Uptown Girl.
Mhm. See.
You will. You always do.
Oh, okay. Let the fun begin. So, first of all, thank you, ladies, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay. Now, hello, Sean.
Hello, Warren.
That's our tradition meeting for each other. We've been doing it for so many years now.
Every time I call you on FaceTime, hello, Warren. Hello, Sean.
Never
It's
fail.
the
It's the
best.
best thing. So it's really an honor to be able to talk with you about music, things that haven't been discussed for a long time among other music artists. You know what I mean? A lot of people have been asking a lot of questions of how did you start? What made you decide on music? Your beginning. So we're going to discuss about several things. I'll have some questions and I'll try not to so much about it. Because there's so much to say, you know what I mean?
So, yeah.
And it's good for people to understand why deaf people can really be involved in the music business and how the music business are thinking about us, their perspective of us, you know. So my question for you, what made you decide to get involved in the music business?
Well, first and foremost, family.
Yeah.
I was born. I mean, you met my dad. You rocked out with my dad several times. And, I just grew up with it. It was in my house. It was right in front of me. And, it was just crazy growing up as a deaf person and having that kind of access to music.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, my parents would share their music with me. My brothers would share, like the more like bad music with me. You'd be like watching MTV and stuff. And back then they didn't have captions. So my brothers would stand next to the TV. So I got a lot of access to music. And to the point where when I was 5, I got a drum set. From there, I wanted to play drums and then started playing guitar because I thought it was more cool to chase girls. But I realized that girls like both drummers and guitarists.
True, true.
Then I started writing songs. you know, it was just coming out of me. I just always wanted to be an artist, and I felt like, you know, I didn't realize it at the time, but I never let my deafness. mm, But I think my parents were like trying to like, maybe you should go to college, maybe you should get an education, maybe you should. So like I grew up with artists, but they knew firsthand how hard it was to be an artist. So I always just had a passion for music.
Well, it's interesting because your upbringing, being surrounded by music, I didn't go through that at all. My family, music, party people. I mean,
Yeah,
when
for
we
sure.
party, we can go to party, we party hard, okay? So
Yeah.
they're dancing, enjoying themselves to all the old songs and all the news, current songs, is sort of enjoy. But growing up, I didn't understand everything. I like the beat, I like the sound of it, but understand the lyrics, no, none at all. And at that time, hip hop was just starting, rap was just new coming out. So I'm revealing how old I am. Okay?
I feel you, man. I feel you. Like today, I just feel like I mean, I feel OG now. You have always been OG.
Okay, but anyway, so my sister, yeah, it is really is a good thing. My sister, she used to write down the lyrics for me. Okay, so it was some song I like because I like the music, but I couldn't understand everything. So my sister would write the lyrics, and then she would mouth it while my hands on the speaker and I'm reading. So I would read, look at her, feel. So read a triangle. So it's just until it came to a point where I can, okay, I don't need my sister anymore. I think I understand where the rhythm, where the beat, where the tempo, how, what to do, and then myself. So that's how I started. And so, but then I was like, I enjoyed it. So maybe I could try to write. And someone
I'm
suggested,
curious about that process because it's giving me flashback to the same kind of journey, but I wanted to experience music myself. So yeah, that you know, listening the rhythm, and you know, it's like for example, I would listen to a new album and like rap. I think
yeah,
both of us can agree that we gravitated towards rap music because
yeah,
of rhythm patterns. Whereas, like, you know, I would listen to Whitney Houston, and I love Whitney Houston, you know. But like sometimes when she would sing, like, you know, with the high voice, high pitched voice, I couldn't hear that. So like I had no sense of rhythm for like Whitney Houston, other than I want to dance with somebody. You know, that like I could hear, but anytime a singer would, so in those situations, I'm sure you relied on your sister and other people that you had access to.
yeah. So yeah, that was my access. But then I wanted to try to see if I can myself some music because hip hop, a lot of people doing beatbox. I used to do that good. Or my sister rap.
Come on, come on, come on.
Oh, I'm terrible right now. You're better than me at that now. I'm terrible. But back then, that was the fad. That was what everyone was doing, and it was tradition on that, and then enjoy it. So
Where was this, Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, my hometown, was
Yeah.
big. So that's what we did every day. Kids would compete doing the beatbox, and some would be rapping right off the top of their mind. I can't do that. I have to write everything down. I have to think of it, dream. I'm not what you call a battle rapper.
See,
So, and people who can really do battle rap, oh, I,
it's an art, it's an art form. And
it's
that's what I
amazing.
think people don't realize about like rap music is like within rap, within rock, within many genres, there are different forms and different talents, for example.
And it's
So
nice to immerse them.
like Eminem, for example. I mean, he's like his like rhythm, his pattern, but then you have like Biz Markie, for example, who's just like straight like this is a completely different spectrum. But they're both like in rap music, but the way they deliver, the way that their patterns and everything,
The words,
yes.
that I love that cadence. It's really emphasis on that. But when I was started, I was listening to a lot of Run DMC. So
Randy.
that Cool J. uh,
Yeah, Cool J is hard as hell.
yeah, Heavy D and the boys, Fat Boys. I was listening to these guys, and so it was so cool learning about that. So I told my sister I want to try. My sister looked at me like, "Boy, sit down. Just sit down." I was like, so she told me, "Why not try write first?" Because I was already writing poetry back then, and I love poetry. So I started writing, and then later on decided, no, change it to a rap. But I didn't understand how to do that. So by continuing listening to the words of other rappers, I was able to, oh, okay, pick out some words, replace some words to make it to today's style of speaking back then. And then it came out today. So I was addicted to that. I mean, so that was one of my process that I still kind of use today of writing. I will write now, write, and then I would just work on the vocals, but I love playing with the vocals. Why? Because you could say, I am going to the store, or I am going to the store. I am going to the store. I'm gonna play it many ways with the beat that you may have inside and out. So the writing process, what I do. And also I like writing about the environment you're in. Oftentimes, many people, rappers in general, will write about the environment that they're in.
Right.
So that is what they know. They know it very well. So they know the language, they know the style, they know the clothes, they know whatever. They write about that. So if you take them out of their environment and put them in another environment, they will write about that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's fun. You can write about life, family, death, a lot of things, party, thing. But if you notice, many songs has a message. And often the rapper will say what the message is or leave it to you to decide. That's the fun.
Right. I mean, for me, like the process with writing is always I like to start with a clean slate.
Yeah.
And that can mean many different things. For example, in the early days of working with my producer Jake, and by the way, you know, I met Jake because I stole a CD from Eminem's studio, and I had no idea who this CD was. It just said beats on it. I wasn't sure who it was, so you know, I went back and confessed I stole the CD. I'm like, who is this? You know, at that time I was working in the same studio with Eminem and all of the producers who worked with him. So really, it could have been like any one of them, but it was Jake. And you know, with Jake in particular, I started writing to music that he was supplying me. So, you know, like sometimes the beat would make me think about a certain thing, or I would have something and I would try to, you know, make it fit with something that he supplied me. So
Mm-hmm.
the early days, that's how we work together. You're right. You know, songs are based on your environment. Like for example, Little Victories and that whole album is really about my journey from pretty much 2010 to like recently. You
Yeah.
know? And there's just a lot of amazing things happened, you know, for me in music. I mean, I feel extremely blessed to be in that environment and experience all of those things. So, you know, like working with Jake, having access to the studio. I mean, I was extremely you know, privileged to have those opportunities, privileged, you know, in so many ways to have those kinds of opportunities. So going back to like writing, it's really now Jake and I tend to go in the studio with no idea. No, we don't have a plan. We just show up and see
Right.
what comes out. And that's where the magic really happened.
Always.
A lot of that happened on the Little Victories album. I would say more than half of it was created from scratch. Some songs gave me, like for example, The Entertainer, where I mentioned Molly in there. That song originally started with keys for the opening.
Yeah.
And like I liked it, but it didn't fit with the album because I wanted that album, Little Victories, to have all rock guitars and live bass and real drums, you know, built on top of hip hop drums. You know, like you can create a theme. And I wanted a theme of what I grew up with. I grew up with, you know, my dad was a country rock musician. We would go to rock concerts. I mean, my upbringing was very rock heavy. And that's where I've kind of gravitated my music more towards that route because that's truly where my passion lies. But at the same time, one, you think I have what it takes to be a rock singer.
You have what it takes to become a rock star. Because that becomes authentic of you. That's an art that comes from here. It's already been in your mind, your body, your mind, your soul for a long time. But then you want to show people who see you as you, for who you are. This is me. This is my art. This is my baby. Please be gentle.
And please tell us a little bit about Hamilton, like that process. I'm just curious because we've been talking for the better part of the past, what, 15 years or something? It's been a long time, maybe a little bit more. But you know, the two of us met at the best deaf festival there is out there. I'm just gonna say it, okay? It's the best for several reasons, and I love many deaf festivals that we've gone to.
Mecca.
But the Mecca is in Kentucky. So big shout out to Virginia, Anita, the whole KCDHH team. It's the best. You know, and I just have to say while we're on the topic that, you know, you made a big impact on my life at that moment. You were the kind of person who was like, come here, let's talk. And we talked, and we've been talking, you know, ever since then. You've given me advice about things. You've really supported me, so thank you for that. So back to Hamilton.
Yeah. We glued together in that music world. I mean, you had some knowledge of it. I had some knowledge of it. But by exchanging the information and growing together, that's what helped us become more, okay, we understand more about the music game. Hamilton, my brother from another mother, who's also another brother from us, DJ Nick Carr, you know, Nick Carr. You and I go way back. I had already had an album that was already out, and it was for me.
Bro.
That was the first one. That was the first one. I mean, because I had no structure of how to mix or master anything like that. I did everything myself by reading a book on how to do it all. And I released that album in Japan instead of US because I was afraid how the people would react. Good enough. Even though a little bit in US, well, yeah, people told me, well, people in Japan.
Differently. I look at that, I remember that.
That was a good one.
I remember that time because, you know, we did that big show in Philadelphia.
Yeah, for pop.
What was it for? Like OID or something? Pop. Yeah, but that show, I remember some of those signs and they were catchy. So you were definitely onto something.
Fun.
They were fun.
Conference with the RID conference that was there. Yeah, so that's where I first met Adrian too, who was working on that with that. That was fun.
Yes.
So, but Nikar and I, he heard one of my songs and he was telling me, sounds good and everything, but your voice was kind of blurry. It's like, okay, but he told me that he's willing to work with me. That's fine. So since then, we just jumped into it. And next thing you know, we just sped forward. And the second album, That's So What, came out, and it was like, boom. And now Wilmington, we was writing, producing, he was producing, was writing, we came up with many themes on what should we write about, why, this, that. So Nikai was also my vocal sergeant. So he was making sure I pronounced my P's, my B's, makes clear. Too many words, get rid of it. This sound, yeah, and he was hard on me because I wanted that. So if you wanted to become really good at what you do, right, you should expect some really tough, blunt, work from feedback. So he gave that all to me, which I was so grateful for it all, because it forced me to really work hard on it. I was so focused. I became almost obsessed on it. I want to make sure I'm clear. I want to make sure, yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah, so it was fun. And he still does it. And complain? No.
I have a question for you, because I know we've talked about this. My understanding is you and Nicole started in DC. He was in the DC area, and you guys would meet all the time in the studio and record and make music. Now Nicole has moved across the country.
Yes.
So how is that working relationship?
Yeah. Because in the beginning, we thought maybe we should stop because he's moving back home. We thought about it. We wasn't sure how it was going to work. But then I thought Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Right.
Okay. They were together in Philadelphia, travel in New York and everything. And then Will moved to California while Jay stayed in Philadelphia, New York area. So what they did, they went in a studio. So their own studio. And then they started recording and they started changing everything by sending it. So I told Nicole, maybe we can try that same thing. Okay. So I had to develop a small little studio in my closet, get it in there. Was fine. He was telling me how the sound should be, what. No,
well, that's interesting to say that, because I recorded 2 blown speakers in a closet, and we kept trying to get the sound, but that closet didn't have a lot of clothes in it. So
right.
For like the people out there, the reason you want to record in a closet is because the clothes will your voice travel, the sound of your voice, and the clothes will help absorb it. So anyways, I was recording in that closet and there was no clothes in there. So we took a twin mattress from another room and brought it into the closet, because Jake and I were up north recording at a cottage. And but it's so funny because I had to go in the room first, and then Jake had to like push the mattress into me. So I would go in with the mattress, and then he would close the door, and I would take the mattress and put it against the door, and then we would record.
I didn't have to do that, but I had clothes in the closet. Yes,
clothes, man.
But Wilmington was me in the closet. The whole album. Okay, so Nikai had his own studio, produced the music. I recorded vocal back and forth. So that album was made in the closet.
And now, the other thing that I find absolutely amazing is that you guys were already set up for the pandemic. Whereas for me, I just couldn't bring myself to do the same thing. Like Jake would be like, we tried. I mean, I admit I didn't try hard enough, but for me, it's just something about being in the room with him and not wanting to return because he went to school in Chicago and we
Yeah.
were working like that for a while. And it wasn't bad, but I felt the material that for the two of us, that we were creating wasn't fitting my vision. I wanted like to be in the room with him and just listen to him play guitar and then say,
Mhm.
that's it, do that. So we would just jam. I would write things, I would make like a drum pattern, I would play drums on it, and he would play bass. And while he was playing bass, he'd be like, what are you looking for? And I would tell him I'm looking for like a bum, bum,
Working
bum.
on creating things, you
Yeah.
know. That's important. That's artists.
Uh,
That's what we try to find anything possible to make sure we find some good music, good beat, good words, and just put it out there. Now, once we have it out there, music industry, we know, me, they're so blunt. If they don't like you, they'll tell you. How how did they receive you when you first put out your music?
for me, it was very interesting because I was already in the hornet's nest, so to speak.
Yeah.
I was working with the same team that was producing Eminem. And really, at that time, when I went in the organization, I went in with the intent of how can I, as someone who loves music, who loves share music even more with the deaf community. So
Yeah.
that led to the formation of DPAN, the Deaf Professional Arts Network.
Mm-hmm.
So, through that journey is when I met Jake and when I stole his CD and started writing the music. So this all happened from like 2006 to 2008, where I was just developing my relationship with Jake. In fact, the first song that I wrote with Jake is I'm Deaf. The first song that I ever put out. Um,
Yeah.
It's funny, it says scratch edition because, when I put out that record, I made 45s for them.
Are those the 45s?
Ah!
Those are the 45s, yeah. Wow.
But hey, you know what's on the other side? The opportunity of a lifetime.
Let's Mambo. Wow.
So, this was my first record I put out
Mhm.
with Jake, and that just opened so many doors. And I mean, really, it's all because of connections and your attitude and your relationship with people. I mean, I could have had this opportunity to set up DPAN, and DPAN was doing great. We put out Waiting on the World to Change.
Mhm.
So I already had some momentum with that. So then all of a sudden I put out I'm Deaf, and people were like, what? I thought you like signed songs for other people, which is something that I just opened the door to be able to just get in the door. That's why in the song Backstage I said getting in on the ground floor at 54 in
Mhm.
the business like a swinging door, which basically means that I just showed up to work there every day. Even when they weren't paying me, I showed up.
Mhm.
Whatever they needed, I showed up.
We're hungry.
That's,
We're
that's
hungry.
really, how I got my start. I
Yeah.
believed in myself. I believed in what I was doing. And I think one thing that people need to realize about the arts in general, whether it's writing music or painting or writing poetry, you have to put in the work. It's just not just given to you. And a lot of people can look at me and say, "Well, your dad, yeah, my dad and my uncle gave me tools. This, I have a lot of audio gear in this room. They gave me tools. it's what you do with those tools. I just really took advantage of it as a deaf person, because my first thought was, you know, as a deaf person, they're not going to take me serious. It kind of goes back, you know, my dad owned a restaurant, and I went to work at the restaurant, and I remember the first day of work, my dad pulled me in the office. You know, I grew up in that restaurant. I grew up going, seeing my dad eating free food and whatever, and eventually free drinks and a designated driver home. Yeah. So anyways, first day of work, my dad pulls me in the office and says, "You have to work twice as hard as everybody in this building." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "No, you don't understand. It's the family business, so people are going to be looking at you."
Mm-hmm.
That really like changed my perception, to have a dad who was like, you know, like really like scolding me, making sure. I mean, even to this day, still doing it. In the middle of this conversation, my father called me on FaceTime, checking in, making sure.
It's great you had that supporting thing, you know, because me, I didn't have that. And I worked my butt off to make sure I was able to get noticed somehow. I mean, I got heckled, I got I got blast, I got put down, I even got thrown out for performance. They realized,
I've been in hotel rooms with you until 4 in the morning. No, you didn't get thrown out.
I mean, when I started hip hop, which means hip hop through hip hop through deaf eyes, I remember people said, deaf people, hip hop, hip hop. You're a joke, man. Just stop. You know, it's never going to work. I mean, come on. Deaf people rap. Understand, I was starting this in 1990.
All right.
1990. So the deaf community was not ready for this kind of thing because, one, it was signing so fast and they thought I was signing a foreign language. So I was like, what? I'm signing ESL. We're not ready for that. What is that? So I was like, oh, then I realized maybe I'm a little bit ahead of the game here. Deaf community was not ready. And I was signing for them because I wanted to expose that a deaf person can do this. But I got shut down. So I actually had to just hold self all my work for several years until you. So when you came with Fort Minor, where did you go?
I miss you so.
Dude, I told my queen, I went, that. Finally, someone doing it. Yeah, yes, yeah. I remember searching high, low, trying to find out when I could find that white boy. Where's he from? What? He's from RT. Oh, from RT? Okay, where? How to find what's his name? Son something. I want to know the exact name, please. Now I was, when I finally found it, I remember when I emailed you and I was congratulating you. I was like, yeah, and I introduced you where I'm from. And I remember you respond back, like, yeah, thank you, dude. Okay. I was like, I'm here when you need, you know, because I was thinking, music artists, finally, we need more. And it was good to see that. And when people started noticing you, many of those same people started emailing and letting me know, like, hey, you were doing that before. I was like, yeah, go back. I was like, you think I'm going to wait for you? No, I'm going right now. That was going on. So that was my push. I felt like, okay, I'm not the only one.
You
I'm
never
gonna.
told me that. You never told me that.
Yeah, that's what happened. And so the process of the people.
I have to say, you know, I think people, when you look back on music history,
Mhm.
like for example, I always like to use the grunge rock scene from Seattle, Washington. You know, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, a lot of those artists. I mean, you know, Seattle was not a music town. Like people didn't think about Seattle. They always thought about LA, San Francisco had theirs. Austin, Texas, Detroit, New York. So that's where it's, Seattle had this whole movement. And for me, when you came up, I was like in Cymark too. I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
I might.
And, as time went on, it was also like, commonalities are that we're deaf
Mhm.
and we support each other. But at the same time, we are our own artists. And I would get emails all the time saying, I wish like me and you would have beef and like we would like rap at each other. Like,
I had a several of that one
I'm
time.
a lover, not a hater,
Yeah, same here, but I had to shut down one person. I mean, because I was like, it's like, I want a rap contact with my friend. So I want to have a beef. I want to challenge you. So I just told him, I said, okay, when you make an album and it becomes successful, then I will consider it. So let me know what you think. But then I stopped myself thinking, was that too much? Was that too hard? So I asked a few people, said, no, I'm just being blunt. I'm like, okay, pa, 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 pa. But that made me think, change it, encourage them.
Yes, yes.
If you have the skill, try.
Yes.
No.
Yes. And really, anybody can. And I see and I recognize many new people coming into the game, trying to get their feet wet. But one thing I will tell you is you have to work. You have to work for it. I get people who send me DMs like, hey, why are you not promoting my stuff? I see you promoting Wawa, but you're not promoting mine. I'm like, 15 years of history. We're good friends. It's relationship building. You can't just expect someone else to support your art because they are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
For the two of us, it's like I remember like going back to like Philadelphia and all of that stuff. When we really got to know each other, I met you in Kentucky. Then we kind of, you just kind of like made that effort to.
Yeah, you can't.
Why do we need negativity?
Overnight.
Why do we need negativity in relationships? I'm like, I'm not gonna support you if you're like sending me DMs like, man, screw you, you're not do it. Like, come on, I want to see you succeed. I want to see every deaf person succeed with music. You just have to put the work in. It's like I look at Mandy Hardy, like she had the talent, she had everything, and then she lost it, and then she regained it again. That's a beautiful thing. She didn't give up. Same with like Evelyn. When we performed for the Deaf and Loud Symphonic Experience, I mean, to me, Evelyn Glennie is the number one like
top of the top,
like musician for her, like what she does. I mean, she is extraordinary with instruments and stuff like that. She's done things that I didn't even think were possible. Like she
I heard of.
Yeah, that too. So it's like there are different kinds of art. And I always try to share this with the kids that I meet. They ask me, how do I get into music? How do I do this? How do I? I'm like, it's just a heavy question. I wish more schools, like deaf and hard of hearing programs, had music programs. I wish that, I wish a lot of things, but, expose.
I learned that. Yeah, I learned that there was some deaf institutes back in the 50s and 60s that did have music class.
Yeah.
Now, when I came in Gallaudet University, they did have music class. I even took singing class.
At Gallaudet?
At Gallaudet University, I swear, I kid you not.
Was it a deaf or hearing person teaching you?
I was a hearing guy, and he was singing very good.
People are deaf teachers.
I don't know what happened to the program, but it was a good program. I loved it. But 2 years, and then that music program was cut. But in many deaf institutes, they had the classes. There were bands that were there. There was orchestras. There was choirs. They had it. And
where did it go?
Hey, there is an orchestra that's currently performing that. Right. So the sports are there. So it'd be nice to be able to bring it back. I think right now, just that in terms of the process of understanding music, some people view it. I just think how society looks at deaf people in general. When they think you're deaf, you can't. You can't enjoy music. You can't make music. You can't sing or rap or produce. So with us, we're pushing, trying to open that door. When I know we deaf music artists are not trying to create a road, we're creating a highway. So, but my question for you, for expiring new people in the music game, what would you suggest to them? What would advice you give them?
It depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a rapper, I suppose, yeah, you can go on these websites where you can buy beats and get to work. I mean, there's lots of things you can do. I mean, there's lots of apps out there for like learning piano. I mean, like I love playing with different toys and learning different toys. I mean, you just have to put in the work and roll up your sleeves and be productive.
I'm also thinking that if you can find a mentor, that will help a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, well, if you can find a hearing mentor or a deaf mentor, someone who knows the music in and out. Now,
Thing. I mean, there's a lot of other like deaf musicians out there, but like I said, you know, everyone has their niche, so to
mhm,
speak. You know, that's where I connect a lot with you because you have showmanship. You can get out there and do that thing, but you can write, you can do different things. You know, so like every deaf musician I've met just had their
yeah, for me, I like to see how serious you are in your work. I need to see you put in your work. If it's not there, and I would like to bring you with me to collaborate on the song. But if it's not there, this is my reputation. I'd rather you put in the work, and I will work with you for shows and stuff like that. So, and expose you to many people out there. So you're not feeling like, oh, no one's here for me. No, look, I'm here. He's here. I mean, it's time. We got many of new musicians, deaf musicians.
looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to making myself more available to support those. Like you said, you got to see the work. Martin, you guys interrupting us? You can just keep
Oh, no,
talking forever.
we will not. I'm so sorry, but this stuff is fun. It's so much to talk with so little time. But I think maybe one day we could produce something for all to enjoy, to really understand. But the time of 2021, you can't ignore deaf artists right now anymore. Thank you. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, so I know there are some music teachers out there are always up for a challenge. They are. They are. They're more like, oh, okay, so I need to change. What do I do? How? But they're willing.
It reminds me of a music teacher here in Michigan that wanted to use my song for the marching band. And, watch his hands. And it's so funny because they reached out to an interpreter, a local interpreter, and said, do you know how we can Sean Forbes? And she was like, his studio is in Ferndale, and they were like, really? So it's like, you know, sometimes the universe just sends you a message, no true music teachers out there. So yeah. And I had to go and teach these kids to sign the song too. Yes.
Mhm.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks. Woo!
God.
Show some love.